Well, yes and no. I mean, everything that he'd set up in episode 7 had been completely undone in episode 8, and he'd been written into a corner by Ryan Johnson. So, in his defence, I mean, what did you expect, really? Oh, hello. Oh, you're back. You're back for another story. Oh, very good. Well, today's story. Today I've got this for you. I've got this. It's An Evening at Alfies, which is written by Shirley Hughes. So, shall we read this? Let's read this. An Evening at Alfies by Shirley Hughes. One cold winter evening, Alfie and his little sister Annie Rose were all ready for bed. Mum and Dad were all ready to go out, and Mrs. McNally's Maureen was in the living room. She had come to look after Alfie and Annie Rose while Mum and Dad went to a party. Ooh, party. Alfie and Maureen waved goodbye to them from the window. Annie Rose was already in her cot, and soon she settled down and went to sleep. Alfie liked Maureen. She always read him a story when she came to babysit. And tonight, Alfie wanted to hear the story about Noah and his ark full of animals. Alfie liked to hear how the rain came drip, 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 and then splash, 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 and then rushing everywhere until the whole world was covered with water. When Maureen had finished the story, it was time for Alfie to go to bed. She came upstairs to tuck him in. They had to be very quiet and talk in whispers in case they woke up Annie Rose. Maureen gave Alfie a good night hug and went off downstairs, leaving the door a little bit open. Now, Alfie didn't feel sleepy. He lay in bed looking at a patch of light on the ceiling, and for a long time all was quiet. Then he heard a funny noise from outside on the landing. Alfie sat up. The noise was just outside his door. Drip, drip, drip. Soon it got quicker, and it changed to a drip, 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 drip. It was getting louder too. Oh! Alfie got out of bed and peeped around the door. There was a puddle on the floor. He looked up. Water was splashing into the puddle from the ceiling. Oh, drip, 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 drip. Oh, it was raining inside the house. Oh, Alfie went downstairs. Maureen was doing her homework in front of the television. It's raining on landing, Alfie told her. Alfie and Maureen went back upstairs. The puddle was getting bigger, and the drip, 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 drip had turned into a splash, splash, splash. Looks like a burst pipe, said Maureen. A plumber was one of the things she wanted to be when she left school. Better get a bucket. So, Alfie showed her where the buckets were kept, in the kitchen cupboard with the brushes and the brooms. But by now, the water was dripping down in another place. Alfie and Maureen found 2 of Mum's big mixing bowls and put them underneath the drips. Maureen got onto the telephone to her mum. The McNallys lived just across the street, so Mrs. McNally was there in a moment. Oh dear, it's ruining your mother's floor," said Mrs. McNally. "Oh, fetch some floor cloths, Maureen." Just then, Annie Rose woke up and began to cry. Oh no. "Oh, shh. Oh, there," said Mrs. McNally, bending over her cot. But Annie Rose only looked at her and cried louder. Oh no. Mrs. McNally ran back out to the landing. She and Maureen tried to mop up the water, but now the drips were coming from lots and lots of different places. Splash, 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 splash. Oh no. "Oh, we ought to turn the water off from the main," said Maureen. "But I don't know how to do it. I think I'd better fetch Dad." That's what you want. Get Dad. He'll know what to do. While she was gone, Mrs. McNally mopped and emptied brimming bowls. And in between mopping and emptying, she ran to try to comfort poor Annie Rose. But Annie Rose went on crying and crying. The drips on the landing came faster and faster. And now there were a lot of puddles on the floor. Alfie paddled in them for a while. It was quite fun, but the water was very cold. He thought that soon, perhaps, the whole street would be covered with water and they would all have to float away in a boat like Noah's Ark. Soon, Maureen came running upstairs with Mr. McNally close behind her, wearing his bedroom slippers. "Oh, what's all this then?" said Mr. McNally, looking at all the water pouring down. He put his head around the bedroom door. He and Annie Rose were old friends. Oh dear, what's all this?" he said in a very kind voice. Then he went downstairs and found a large sort of tap under the stairs and turned it off, just like that. "So that's where it was," said Maureen. Then the water stopped pouring down through the ceiling, splash, 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 and it became a drip, 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 and then a drip, 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 and then it stopped altogether. "Oh, thank goodness for that," said Mrs. McNally. "I'll know how to do it next time," said Maureen. But Annie Rose was still crying. Alfie went in to the bedroom to see if he could cheer her up. Tears were rolling down her cheeks and soaking into the blanket. "Don't cry, Annie Rose," said Alfie, and he put his hand through the bars of her cot and patted her gently, as he had seen Mum do sometimes. Annie Rose still wore nappies at night. "Annie Rose is wet," Alfie told everyone. "And her bed's wet too. I expect that's why she's crying." "Oh, why, so she is, poor little mite," said Mrs. McNally. When Annie Rose was all dry and comfortable again, Mrs. McNally put her on the living room sofa with Alfie and tucked a quilt around them. Then she gave them both a biscuit. Annie Rose was quite cheerful now. She got very friendly with Mr. McNally, and he let her play a game with him, taking off his glasses and putting them back on again. Then she sucked her thumb and leaned up against Alfie, and Alfie leaned up against her. And when Mum and Dad came home, they were both fast asleep. The next morning, Mum told Alfie not to turn the taps on until the plumber had been to mend the burst pipe. Alfie didn't mind not having a wash. He had had enough water the evening before to last for a long time. There you go. That was An Evening at Alfie's by Shirley Hughes. I hope you enjoyed that story, and join me again next time where we'll have another story. How about that? So I'll see you all later. Bye bye everybody. Bye bye. Now don't take it the wrong way, BB-8. I thought you were very, very good. As always, stellar performance. But it was the middle part of the trilogy that really it just. I mean, you can subvert expectations, but when you subvert every single expectation, it spoils the writing, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not an expert on these things, but I'd say you agree, don't you? Ryan Johnson is to blame. Yeah. I'm sure we can all agree on that.